everyone, welcome back to the channel and to some more inspiration using gorgeous products from Honeybee Stamps. Today I'm going to be working on a tone-on-tone card, and I'm going to start off here with my Sweet Stacks rectangle dies. These are a must-have if you don't have stacking rectangle dies. I love these. And I'm going to cut out the largest rectangle here from some Bellini cardstock from Spellbinders. This is the Colorwheel cardstock. It is absolutely fabulous. The colors are gorgeous in this collection, and I wanted to just do kind of like peachy tones for my project today. So there's that largest piece, and then I took a smaller rectangle from the set and die cut another rectangle from that same Bellini cardstock. So this one is about 4 by 3. And now we've got these two pieces to work with for the project. Now, I did go into my stash and did a little bit of stash diving for products that I haven't used before or not for a long time. And the stamp that I'm going to be using here today is the gorgeous Zelia's English Garden red rubber stamp. I'm going to take the smaller rectangle and put it into my alt new stamp wheel, and here's that gorgeous red rubber stamp. It is absolutely stunning. I love it so much. Look at these gorgeous florals, hummingbirds, foliage, just really beautiful imagery with this stamp. So I'm going to put this into my stamp wheel. Like I said, what I really love about the stamp wheel with red rubber is that you don't really have to take the pad out of the stamp wheel. You can just leave it as is, and it works just fine. So I'm going to add some anti-static powder to the cardstock because I'm going to do some heat embossing. And I've inked up the stamp with some clear sticky embossing ink. And now I'm just transferring that onto the paper. So I have my stamp on the stamp wheel, and you can just see here, I'm going to give it a really good press. And now I've got that really nice, sticky, clear image on my paper. I'm going to go ahead and cover that with some white embossing powder. This white embossing powder is opaque, and so that once I get this powder on here, tap off the excess, I can go ahead and use my heat tool to melt that. You'll notice I'm just using my Honeybee craft pick here to hold the paper down on my glass board. And I'm using the highest setting on my heat tool here to melt this powder. And so slowly but surely, you'll be able to see that white becoming much more bold. And here we just have this gorgeous pattern that's so nice and soft and pretty on that really pretty peach paper. So here's a close-up, just so you can see all of that gorgeous detail. The red rubber stamps like no other. I love it so much. Now this is another die from my stash. This one is called Bold Background Chinoiserie. This was released last spring. It is just a stunning set. I die cut out just the little floral buds from the set and put them together. There's a bunch of videos on the Honeybee YouTube channel showing you how to layer these. You also get a layering guide with the set, so it's super easy to put these together. I just wanted the 3 little buds, or the 3 little blooms here. And then I used the Lovely Layers Bough and Bough die set. I used a couple of the foliage pieces from this set. They are absolutely gorgeous for creating with any type of, project where you want to have some leaves or some leafery. And I've die cut the leaves and the blooms from chiffon cardstock from Spellbinders. And now I'm going ahead and adding my card front onto my top folding A2 size white card base. And I'm going to pop up this smaller rectangle with some foam adhesive to give it just a little bit more dimension on my card front. I'm just using some Alt New 1-inch foam tape here, and I'll just go ahead and adhere that onto the back of my panel. And I'll take the release paper off of there and add a little bit of my Honeybee Be Creative liquid adhesive. In that way, what's going to happen is it's just going to allow me to have a few seconds to wiggle this around before that foam tape adheres to the cardstock. And so I just wanted to take a bit of time to make sure that I get this more or less centered-ish on the front of my card base. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a little bit of time to wiggle that around, get that into place. Once I'm happy with the placement of it, I'll just give it a really good press. And now I'm just going to take a little bit of time to eyeball where I want all of these different elements to be on my card front. So I've got these 3 blooms, which I wanted to kind of place into sort of like a triangle position. And I didn't want them to be too high because I do want to leave room in the top left-hand corner there for my sentiment. So I'm going to add some thin foam squares onto the back of the 2 larger blooms. And then the smaller bloom, I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive on the back of that to adhere it down. In that way, we're going to get some variation of height in the elements on the front, where the larger blooms are going to have more of a loft than the smaller bloom. So I'm just going to get this one down with a little bit of foam adhesive as well, just using my honeybee tweezers here to help me place things. And then I'll just kind of decide where I want these leaves to go as well. But here you can just see the beautiful tone-on-tone effect coming together, where the white embossing just adds that nice texture and detail behind our blooms. Then we've got the blooms and the leaves in a little bit of a lighter tone of that same color. So still tone-on-tone. And it's just, I really like it. I think it's quite pretty. I am going to add a little bit of texture with some splatter here in a bit, which I think adds just that little bit of extra detail that looks really nice. But this is the basic gist of where I wanted to place things on the project. And I love how some of those leaves are hanging off the edge of the smaller rectangle in the center. This is a sentiment with sympathy that I'm using today. This is from a beautiful set called Always and Forever. This set not only has a ton of sentiments, but it also has some really cool elements. It's a red rubber set, so you know that it's going to stamp beautifully. And it also has this gorgeous floral rectangle with a pop-out center. So this is so cool. And then that rectangle has a coordinating die, as does that pop-out center. So really, really fun, really interesting, a really cool way to use, lots of cool ways to use that set. I'm going to take a little bit of gold liquid watercolor and splatter that, not very generously, just a tiny little bit. The reason why I used gold is because I heat embossed the sentiment with sympathy with gold embossing powder. So we're going to have a few little pops of gold on this project as well, just to add some extra detail. And then here I've just got some watered down liquid or a watered down acrylic paint, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that on generously, a nice white splatter to give that little bit of extra pop of white, which complements that white heat embossing and just adds a little bit of extra texture and interest to the project. I'm going to bump up my sentiment with a little bit of foam adhesive using some foam strips. I'll get those onto the back of the sentiment, and then I'll go ahead and place that, like I said earlier, in the top left-hand corner of the smaller square on our card front. So that's going to be our sentiment there. Now I'm going to use the Holiday Wishes pearl stickers. I'm using a lot of the little tiny ones, which is great. And I'm just finding little niches in tight to the foliage and the blooms to add these little details. Friends, I have linked up in the description box below to the products that I've used from the Honeybee shop. Make sure that you check out those links and check out everything that you can find that's lovely in the Honeybee shop. Hope you were inspired today and have a wonderful day. I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.